Trevor Wolfe van Delf.io sluit nou by my aan om te gesels oor hoe hulle crowdsourcing gebruik om die tradisionele bemarkingsindustrie te versteur. Hello, Trevor.
Hello, great to be here.
Trevor, let's start at the beginning because I also don't really know, but what exactly is crowdsourcing?
Crowdsourcing is the concept that sometimes challenges or ideas are better yet solved with the public, with independent groups of professionals, and outside of the internal organization. It's been around for hundreds of years, but only now taking on a new meaning with new technologies.
So let's talk about Delf.io specifically. Why I was so interested in your story is that you said that you were going to upset the traditional marketing research industry. What is it that you guys are going to do?
So we allow brands, large or small, test their advertising strategies, their campaign concepts, their product ideas with independent groups of professional creatives online. And this has cut the traditional testing process from 90 days down to 5 days, allowing for brands to get feedback from the crowd.
Okay, so I want to take us one step back. So, say, for example, I was First National Bank, and I'd like to try out a new ad that talks specifically to our slogan of how can we help you. How would that process normally have worked between, say, the brand, the agency, and the target market? Surely I would have loved to test that concept.
Yeah, traditionally you would have outsourced that to a research house. They would have taken about 90 days to deliver any feedback from you. You as a brand manager might send it to your creative agency who's responsible for creating the campaign. And depending on your relationship with the agency, they might take it well, they might not take it well. But also you're not left with any actionable insights on what to do next. So going straight to the professionals cuts down that process, incentivizes both the agency and the brand to test more often and get feedback throughout the creative process.
So let's talk about the crowd. So if I think about crowdsourcing, I think about Uber. And in the case of Uber, the drivers are the crowd. In your case, who would represent the people that will actually test the idea, or that you would actually test the idea with? Who's the crowd?
So we also want to introduce some quality control like Uber does with their drivers. Yeah. So we vet our creatives. They can be freelance professionals. They can be working at an agency or within a brand. So copywriters, graphic designers, strategists. Yeah.
So the client, in this case, so hypothetically again, it's F&B. What's the main benefits that I now have that I wouldn't have had in the past? It sounds to me, a crowd seems like I've got access to a lot of people that I may not have had access to the past. Is it really the case?
Yeah, the beauty of crowdsourcing is that you get a collective wisdom from people that you might not otherwise. And specifically with feedback within organizations, it's very uncommon for a brand manager or even at the agency side to be able to stop 10 of his colleagues and say, stop what you're working on, forget about what you think about me as a person, and give me 2 hours of unbiased constructive feedback. That just doesn't happen in modern organizations. So we think the only way to solve that is introducing a crowdsourcing element and inviting the crowd to participate in internal challenges.
Let's talk about the freelancing world in South Africa. It's incredibly big in other developing countries such as India, especially in the States as well. And in South Africa, the freelancing market is generally small. Do you see this having a really big impact on freelance designers, other agencies out there? And if so, what impact will it actually have?
Yeah, I mean, South Africa has a huge youth unemployment rate. We all know that. I think introducing a new model of employment, not that it replaces a full-time job, but allowing freelancers that might start their own studio, might start their own business because they have no other choice, allowing them to earn additional income on high-level projects through a company like ours or several other startups, introduce a new economic element into the economy. So we think overall it's going to be beneficial. And we're also curious to know what other startups try to take advantage of the opportunity. And
I spoke about the bank as an example of a client, but surely that's not the only industry that would find a benefit from this solution. Who would you describe as your typical client?
So brands are obviously a big chunk of our business, but we have been seeing a lot more business from SMEs. So South African brands, coffee shops, fashion clothing labels that traditionally wouldn't have access to market research now have the comfort and a tool to test whether their products would work in Nigeria, how to build better campaigns like the big brands do, and make more advantage of their tighter budgets.
If I now pitch this idea to your group of or to the crowd, how do you ensure that the right person or that whoever I pick in the crowd is actually the right person for the job? How do you ensure that?
Yeah, so that's one of the challenges of crowdsourcing. It takes a lot of algorithms and a lot of thinking about how to solve this challenge. So we deploy lots of natural language processing, artificial intelligence, which is just technology, to make sure that we're identifying the right creatives based on their previous brand experience, their level of experience, and their work with us. So every time they work with us, we provide feedback back to them, and they get different rankings.
Let's talk about the future. I know you are involved in the F&B Innovators program or in the Innovators competition. What does it entail and what does the future look like?
So we were fortunate enough to be nominated as a finalist in the F&B Innovation Awards program, and also a program called Endeavor, which is a global entrepreneur network, and we passed the local panel, which means that we will be representing South Africa in Madrid later this May, and hopefully that generates enough interest where investors, more clients, and it takes our South African company global.
You're a typical startup and a tech startup in a country at this stage where we see this as a very flourishing industry. It's not always that easy. What would you say within these first few months and a year or so, what was your biggest challenges?
The biggest challenge is making sure that our team feels comfortable contributing to the growth. I think a lot of traditional staffing models mean that lower-level employees or mid-level employees don't feel a part of the mission. Startup world has an opportunity to change that mindset within the local economy, and so that was one of the big challenges, is getting people that believed in the mission, and also clients that were willing to take a risk. Status quo is a very comforting position to be in, and so sometimes when you go to clients with a better solution, you have to also encourage them to take that risk, that first step.
Trevor, we wish you all the best, and it's so lovely to talk to young entrepreneurs. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Na die handelsklits gesels ek met Ulrich Roux oor watter implikasies die Woude kan please call me uitspraak vir besighede en werknemers inhou. Bly asseblief by ons ingeskakel.